It didn't end exactly well for the dude. It ended horribly. However, I do have to give the Coug Hunter this much. The Coug Hunter, Zach Wilson, played the game of his life last night. Honestly. In fact, I'd go as far as to say he actually played his ass off. I said it on Friday, and I'll own it. I did say on Friday during our Big Head Bet segment, it was a matchup between the best quarterback in the world and the worst quarterback in the world. And the absolute last thing that I expected was for those two dudes to basically switch bodies last night. It was almost like Zach Wilson somehow infected Patrick Mahomes. Like he attained the CH. Mahomes somehow attained the CH. I mean, for a lot of the game, the best quarterback in the world looked like the worst quarterback in the world, and the worst quarterback in the world looked pretty damn good. At least until he dropped a snap for no reason and blew the game. It's almost like he remembered, oh, I'm the Coug Hunter. Still, despite that fact, I half expected the Coug Hunter to walk off the field last night, go stare into the first camera he could find and yell, I'd like to know where Joe Namath is right about now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. What he said about me, well, it was disgusting. Except that to the Coug Hunter's credit, he was not walking around with his chest puffed out after the game, scanning the crowd for hot moms to pass his digits to. No, in fact, he did actually the opposite. My dude took that L hard, and he also put the L on himself. You see, he did what all QB1s are supposed to do. Completely own it all and not point the finger at anybody else other than himself. And you know what? That's exactly what he did. The Hunter is all grown up. That was some actual maturity and leadership. I like that. I like that a lot from him. Everything he said there was pretty much dead on. And you know what? It sounded like he meant it. It sounded like he meant it. It was dead on. And it sounded a hell of a lot better than, hey, come on, guys. It's windy as hell out there, guys. So I don't really know what was more surprising. That Zach Wilson looked like a real quarterback during that game, or that he acted like a real quarterback after the game. But I do know this. He did not lose the Jets that game. If anything, he was the reason the Jets had a prayer in that game. But I can't deny that that fumbled snap was a backbreaker. Well, at least it was after KC got done grinding away the rest of the game with an excruciating 7.5-minute drive that nearly made Bob Saleh's perfectly smooth dome blow right off his shoulders. Yes, the Zebras got a little kooky at the end of that game. No, they were not fixing it because Taylor Swift was there. Even if the X was busy after the game trying to convince themselves that that's what happened. Not everything is a conspiracy, weirdos, except maybe that thing about the two of them being together. Listen, football fans, it might have been intriguing for the first 30 seconds or a minute, but how many football fans nationwide are utterly sick of that whole thing right now? Like, no more Taylor Swift. We get it, all right? They're back. They're shooting the box. She's reacting. Every graphic. The talking heads breathlessly going on and on and on. I mean, come on. Enough is enough, right? Other than that conspiracy theory, you know, the fact that maybe that's a business merger instead of them being an item. I think I do speak for everybody on the planet. It was fun for like 30 seconds. Enough already, though, about all of that. And by the way, if that weren't freaking annoying enough, how do you think everybody felt who took the Chiefs, laid the points, and then saw Mahomes go all Lou Brock into second base at the goal line? That slide might as well have been a flying jump kick to the stick of anybody who bet the Chiefs and laid the points. Listen, I get it. I'm not saying the Chiefs give a damn about your fantasy team. I'm not saying the Chiefs give a damn about your action on the game. I'm not saying they should. All they care about is the scoreboard. They did their job. They got by. They got over. I get it. That said, if the best player in the world takes 3 more steps, walks it into the end zone, he's not showing anybody up. He's not pouring any salt into their wounds. He's not putting his team at risk because there's no way the Jets were going to come back from 10 down. What he's doing is not finishing the play. It seems to me somewhere along the way, somebody just decided that that's the right move in that situation. And then the talking heads started puking all over themselves, screaming about how incredibly heady it is for that player to do that thing. And then suddenly now, it's a thing. Trust me, there are so many people so pissed that Pat got down the way he did. I mean, got down on the ground. I get it. I get it's their job to win the game, not win our bets. I want to repeat that. I understand that it's their job to win the game and not win our bets or win our fantasy leagues. But I'm also here to tell you, this gambling game is hard enough, dog, without that happening.
That rapping game is hard, dog.
That gambling game is hard, dog. Trust me, sticks were snapped nationwide when Pat slid. Kicks to the sticks. Sticks obliterated. So, that said, pretty good game. Pretty painful for a Jets fan. And Jeff and Chiefs better. But if you want to talk segue, if you want to talk real pain, you should go find the hood man right about now. Because Bill Belichick and the Pats are on all fours still. On all fours, picking their chicklets out of the turf after getting their faces caved in by Dallas. The hood has never been smacked around like that before. A 35-point loss, the single biggest loss of the Mumbler's career. And it had to be the worst game of Mac Jones' career, right? Dude got yanked with more than 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and he'd already thrown a pick six, had thrown another horrible backpedaling pick, and he fumbled it for a return TD. All of that. But hey, at least, nobody accused Mac of grabbing at their junk this week. So I guess that's a dub for Mac. Hey, but whatever you do, don't call that benching that happened in the third quarter a benching. Because Hoodman says that's not a benching. Hoodman did not bench Mac Jones, okay? He just benched Mac Jones. My favorite new super aggressive, I want to say passive aggressive, but it's not even passive. It's aggressive, is when coaches start referring to reporters by their first name. Like they're acknowledging them. But they're acknowledging them not as a show of respect, but like, hey, Mike. In other words, like, shut your mouth, Mike.
Yeah, just so there's no point leaving him in the game.
Mike. Pete.
Yeah, just so there's no point leaving him in the game, Mike.
Since when has that guy ever addressed a reporter by name? Only when he's exceptionally pissed. Only when he lost by 5 touchdowns. You should have just gone full government on him. Gotta love his enthusiasm. Gotta love the Hoodman's energy and enthusiasm for the team and the quarterback he handpicked. But, Mac is not benched, all right? According to Hood, he will continue as the team starter. Not that anybody expected anything different moving forward. And it's not really on Mac completely, right? The offense is horrendous, and that's nothing new. It was horrendous when the Hood entrusted Matt the Ticonderoga, Patricia, and Joseph the leader of men to run it. And it's been horrendous since the Bob, Bill O'Brien, was brought in to fix it. What I'm saying is maybe it's irrevocably broken. Have you thought about that? You know why? Because it's been irrevocably broken since Bacon 46 walked out that door. Obviously. But half fam. There is no doubt yesterday was the low point for the post-Bacon era Patriots. A real low point for the Hoodman. A low point for the Hoodman, but you know what? A high point for the Jera. You know, Jera was walking around that state-of-the-art stadium looking around for a camera and some microphones after that beatdown. Never mind that the old guy was nowhere to be found after that debacle in the desert. Like, I don't know if he left half his face in Tempe and the other half of his face in Scottsdale. I don't know what he did. I just know that initially he was nowhere to be found after that beatdown. However, after humiliating the hood, you bet your ass he found a gaggle. He found himself a gaggle, and he found the perfect word to describe that big dub. Is there anybody anywhere, much less somebody that old, who loves the sound of their own voice as much as he does? Surreal.
Surreal.
He's right. It was surreal. And I'll tell you why it was surreal. You know why it was surreal? It was surreal watching the alleged greatest head coach in the history of the sport get absolutely worked by Big Mike. That was what was surreal.
Surreal.
Surreal is also exactly what I think every time I hear you speak, Jera. Surreal.
Surreal.
Surreal that you take as much time as you do to say as little as you do. That's what's surreal.
Surreal.
Surreal that you're still in charge of this football team. Surreal that this old man's football team is 35 points better than Hoodman's football team. Oh, how the Hoodman has fallen. Hoodman has fallen and he cannot get up. But if you want to talk about surreal, we got to talk about the Super Bowl of ass. Nothing ever lives up to the hype, or in this case, down to the hype, except the Super Bowl of ass. That did. Bears Broncos truly did live down to the billing. And I don't even know what the ugliest part was. I mean, how horrendous was it that the Broncos somehow trailed by 3 touchdowns in this game? And then it was just as horrendous that Chicago managed to take a giant dump in their pants, an explosive dump in their pants, and blow that game. But then again, I guess it really would not have been the Super Bowl of ass if it didn't involve somebody blowing out a giant dump in their pants. I mean, I don't know what was more wild. How about the part that both quarterbacks actually played well? For all the ass featured in the Super Bowl of ass, the quarterbacks were actually really solid. That might have been Justin Fields' best game as a pro. Not that that's saying a hell of a lot, but probably was. You can't blame Fields, and you can't blame Russett, which is why, if you're going to blame somebody this morning, you can go ahead and start with Matt Eberflus. What a brutal morning he's having, because you can definitely put it on him. You know, all of Chicago is. And if you bet Eberflus to be the first coach fired this season, you might just cash that ticket. This dude's defense got shredded in the second half. And then he did not trust that same defense to defend a lead, so he went for it on 4th and 1 at the Denver 18 in a tie game with 2:52 left. He could have had the lead. He could have put the pressure on Cringerous and the Broncos, but instead he tried to go for it, and the rest is history, which is why we could be saying the status of the Bears coach might be exactly the same pretty soon. History. This dude's now 3-18. 3-18, and after yesterday, it's hard to imagine where the hell he is ever going to find another win. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.